we pitched and the idea was stolen. We went onto this platform one day of this.
Has our content.
Name
Of the name
Hey,
creators
that's
on
us.
creators.
We were both asked to be on a panel one time.
Yes.
And quoted different fees.
2 different fees, and they knew that we knew each other.
White
Men
men supporting black women.
That's a really good point. I think we should talk about it.
So,
No nepotism here.
I wish there was. I wish.
Not
Sometimes
a dime.
Sometimes I'm like just a silver teaspoon.
There's something about the UK that sometimes you don't feel like you should dream
You can't
that big
dream.
because it crushes you. It crushes you to the point where you're like, why bother?
We had. Can we talk about it?
No.
Ah! I want to talk about it so bad.
We can talk about the fact that we were being asked to be on a location very far in the UK without any payment.
So we were.
And it was meant to be a night slot. Tom's house got broken into.
You can find it. Hi Becky.
Hi Tati, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Wow, this is new for us. I've
Very
been on the camera side for a while.
No. So should we explain for people who don't know who we are,
Yeah.
what we do, and why we're here today?
Let's do it.
Okay, so you go
Sure.
first.
Hi, I'm Rebekah Mithinji. I'm one of the executive producers on Creators and Creators, and we are here today to do the producers episode. And I'm joined by
Tati Kapaya, another one of the executive producers of Creators on Creators. This is so fun because we've never, we have the Making C on C podcast series,
Yes.
behind the scenes series,
Yes.
but we've never done a long form episode. Well, we tried and we lost the footage.
So this is our second attempt at this episode because we did film it, but we'll get into why that's not happened.
Yeah, and we've learned a lot from the whole process.
Yeah.
And I'm actually really happy that we're filming this now instead of the episode we filmed before because we've learned so much more.
So much has happened.
So much more has happened.
Yeah.
So yeah, should we just get straight in?
Let's jump right in. I think we can start. We do have structure to this, so we're gonna kind of give you the story behind the podcast, the nitty gritties, and we hope it's also an episode that provides value for anyone who also wants to create a podcast, because there's a lot people don't know.
Yeah, or just be a creatorpreneur in general, I feel.
Ooh, I love that term.
Right? Because even though we're talking about it from a podcast lens and creating this podcast, what we really are creating is a business and a community first.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it will be helpful for anyone.
I hope so.
Yeah. Okay. And we're also creators. We didn't even mention that ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
We're content creators.
Content creator for 6 years now. So
Yeah.
It's been a while.
We've been doing
We've
this.
been in the game.
Let's start with the origin story.
Let's. Do you wanna, how did this all come together? Let's go back in time.
Yeah.
2022?
2022, we came up with the idea.
Yes.
We were in Copenhagen, Denmark.
Ah.
Having a pizza that was way too expensive.
No, was it the pizza or the cafe? Or did we start in the pizza shop?
Started in the pizza shop.
We started in the pizza shop.
Imagine paying 30 euros for a pizza.
It was really good though.
Excellent.
It was really good.
Excellent.
That honey.
Yes. A hot honey on pepperoni.
I fear that people don't know this law, so
yeah,
they
it's
don't
fine,
care.
it's fine.
So we were having pizza in Copenhagen, and we were talking about it. And then we had another conversation in a cafe where we're like, okay, like let's float this idea. And I remember we sent a voice note to somebody, and then we're like, okay, we actually have to do this and like go forward with it and start thinking about it. But I don't think anything came from it from that point, did it?
No. What I like to say to people now is that we were obviously in research and development for a year.
Yeah.
Because we didn't start shooting the podcast until January of 2024.
Yeah.
But we were unintentionally in just this R&D phase for so long, pitching, building our deck, and unintentionally just working on the idea as
and like
much
ironing
as
it
possible.
out, making it better. There was different like iterations as well of the podcast, because it wasn't in this format. Even season 3, which this is part of, is completely different to season 1, and season 1's completely different to the pitches that we were giving. So there's been a lot of iterative processes just from, like you're saying, 2022 to now.
Yeah, and I think that's honestly the most important part of why we've seen such, I'm going to say success. Like, you can measure success however you want to measure it.
Yeah.
Personally, I think we've seen great success in terms of the fact that we premiered in March of 2024.
Of this year. Yeah.
And we've already exceeded our expectations. So in my mind, this is a success.
Oh, yeah, massively.
And I really do credit that to that 1 year plus of us just researching, developing, pitching, getting feedback, and continuously evolving the idea.
Yeah, because also I think it pushed us to get to a place where we're doing it ourselves.
Yeah.
Because I think when we first started, we maybe went into it with a bit of naivete where we were like, you know, we'll give this idea to somebody, they can do it for us, and that's the best way to do it. Whereas, like you're saying, through that year, we learn, okay, other people might not be able to help us and like make it what we want, but we can still get it to the, you know, quality we want, to the guests that we want on our own, because we spent all that time learning and understanding the podcast. So
absolutely.
I think it was all meant to, God, you know, God makes these things work out perfectly. So
I think we faced many issues and many challenges, roadblocks, and that was really just God's way of being like, guys, you're not meant to give this away.
Don't. And we learned that the hard way.
The worst way.
The worst way possible. I think the worst way to learn this is by having an idea stolen. And that happened. Yeah.
We pitched and the idea was stolen. We went onto this platform one day of this.
Because our content. Name of the name
hey,
creates on creators.
Took it.
And then swiftly afterwards, we trademarked it.
In the US and the UK.
Yep.
And the US legal system is so long.
I just didn't
expensive.
I just didn't think making a podcast would mean I would have to get a US lawyer. Why is that part of the process?
Spending thousands and thousands. We've probably spent around 10K just on legal fees.
Have we?
Each consulting call was like 75 quid.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's easily that, because
2023 was a different kind of year where
did we get that money from? That's what I would like to know.
That was a 2023 different year for me.
Yeah. But anyway, the actual origin of the podcast came from the fact that we were both content creators, and we were having conversations behind the scenes of how much are you charging?
Yep.
Why are you charging this? Where are you meeting these brands? How are you negotiating with these brands? And we were both asked to be on a panel one time.
Yes.
And quoted different fees.
2 different fees, and they knew that we knew each other.
They knew that we were so locked in, and still decided to say, let's give them different fees.
As if I wasn't going to ask you and you weren't going to, like, we were going to have a conversation about it because we were being paid to be there. So that's where we were like, hey, there's a bit of discrepancy here. And if there's discrepancy between 2 people who are in the same network that know each other and who look very similar and are somewhat similar maybe in, like, following count, audience, like, location and size, then what's happening when you're complete opposite to me? Absolutely. Like, what are the conversations that are going on with these kind of creators? So I think that's where we will learn that, there's definitely something that needs to be talked about here.
Yeah, and obviously if you've watched Actors on Actors, that's where we took inspiration from for Creators on Creators. And I think what I love about Variety and Actors on Actors specifically is the fact that they encourage just conversations about an industry. And being a consumer of that show and not being an actor, that's what gave me the confidence to be like, yeah, we can definitely do this, even though, like, and have a wide audience, not just content creators. Because if we can watch something about actors,
and be tapped in,
and be tapped in, and not even be interested in, like, being a Hollywood actor or getting an Oscar and all of this, why wouldn't someone who is not interested in being a content creator not be interested?
And then these are the content creators that they're already watching.
Exactly.
So I think it's a great concept, and clearly, I mean, we're season 3 now, season 4 wrapped, season 5 TBD. We've just wrapped a day film with other creators who have said the concept has been spoken about by other creators who then encourage these creators to come on the show. So it's a concept that 1 works, and 2 is like a content concept that people want to hear and learn from. So
and not to toot our own horn, but we are excellent to work with.
We are sorry, bring this down. We are creme de la creme, you know, like they said in Prima Facie. We are the creme de la creme.
Creme de la creme. Yeah. There's something about black women. That part. Anyway.
So I think that kind of taps into everything we want to talk about with the origin story, like why and how long it took. So I mean, we could start talking more about the production side and you know how we're here today with a full production.
So I guess there's different elements to production of the podcast in general. Yeah. So we've got pre-production, we've got production, and then post-production, and then rollout.
Yes.
What, in your opinion, or in what do you like the most out of these 4 stages? Yep. And what do you think is the easiest and the hardest?
Okay, so the one I like the most, obviously, production. 1, because it's like pre-production, you're very much behind a desk. you're not really seeing a lot of people. You're kind of just talking on emails to people. Production, you're with the team. You get to create a vibe. You get to meet the creators. So that's my favorite personally. And then I'd say the next favorite, because I kind of want to do two, is actually the rollout, because you get to live that excitement again of the podcast. You get to see the potential the podcast has and how it's going to reach and affect people really well. My least favorite thing has to be not even post, pre-production, because it's so many moving parts. So maybe I'll give you a rundown of pre-production. So as you know, on the podcast, we have two creators. To get two creators on a podcast on one day that also aligns with the production team that we have is not easy.
And the location.
So and our schedules. I'm forgetting even the thing that really is the barrier to entry is actually location. So I think the first thing that's most difficult is location. Then it's aligning with production to find out the dates that the team is available. And then after that is when we actually do the outreach. Once we have location and production confirmed, those dates and location, then we reach out to the creators, sometimes their management, sometimes them directly. And the reason I hate that part is not because of anyone's fault. It's just that different timelines means that you get different answers on times that you don't want it. So for example, I'll secure one creator, then you're waiting like 3-4 days for the next creator. Then another creator's like, oh, I could also do that. But you're like, this creator doesn't gel well, or because maybe the creator is the exact same. So you want some difference. Because when we're selecting creators, we want them to either be in the same niche, but a different gender or maybe race. Or if they're in completely different niches, we want them to kind of relate maybe on one thing, or be maybe at like 2 different following counts. So one can learn from the other and vice versa. So now when you're trying to get all that criteria into one day or like 3 days at a specific time, that is the most stressful. Absolutely. I actually think it's probably the most stressful part. And also trying to follow up, because at the end of the day, we're asking for people's time in a way that doesn't feel like, you know, you're hounding the people, is really hard. Especially when you're dealing with managers who are dealing with creators who are very busy.
Absolutely.
Like, especially this quarter. That's it for me. How about you?
I mean, even just to continue the conversation that you were having, I think when it comes to dealing with like management as well, like we've worked with a lot of creators from certain managements here in the UK who we think must just be sick of hearing from us. Like Shift.
Big up Shift. Like, love those guys.
Love Shift so much. We've used, like, so many of their creators have been willing enough to come on the show. But, like, our email chain is, like, long. So long.
Could be in the hundreds by now.
Probably.
Yeah.
We love the idea of having one season be shot in 3 days. And we are still yet to achieve that because of scheduling. Yeah. Like, we'd love to be able to have consecutive days, just 3 of them. Yeah. But that still hasn't happened, and we're on season... Well, we don't know what season 5 has to hold, but
I hope season 5 is easy.
I know, but season 4, up until we still have not been able to do that.
No, we were close. We nearly did it.
Very close.
And then people dropped out.
Guys.
Yeah.
So the thing is, when it comes to creators agreeing to come on the show and dropping out, there's obviously circumstances where you're like, of course you can't make it. Please, we understand. But then there's some circumstances where it's like, we know you're messing with us right now. Yeah. We know you're actually being rude.
Yeah. I think the thing that hurts us the most is now when the time is so close. Yeah. Like, I would say the day before cancelling is genuinely the worst feeling. One, because we're now at a place where we're partnering with people, and also like us doing a last minute cancellation makes us look really unprofessional when it's not our fault. Like, we can't help somebody cancelling last minute. And then we also feel bad for the creator that, you know, because there's 2 people involved in this. The other creator who's now like, oh, and then we're telling them last minute, and then, you know, we feel weird, like, that we've made, you know, we've wasted their time. Absolutely. Because again, we're creators, so we know, like, you have to plan these things out weeks ahead of time. And, you know, you might have a brand deal that you need to shoot. You're like, okay, I've allotted this day for the podcast. Then tomorrow I've got, like, you know, it just messes with people's schedules. So 100%. Yeah, I hate that.
It's just not fun.
But I will say, let's take a positive spin on the last 20 minutes that this podcast has been and say the genuine, like, appreciation we have for content creators taking 1 hour. Now it's not even an hour, it's like 2.5 hours technically all round to come, sit down, share their thoughts, share their experience and their expertise, because these are all experts in their field, no matter the size of the creator.
Absolutely.
Is insane. And these aren't
Absolutely
small, like, even if they are smaller creators, but these are well-known creators who people are tuned into and want to hear from. Like, it's wild that they even want to give us the time. So we're massively appreciative of them
appreciative.
And their managers.
To be honest, even if someone were to cancel the morning of, like the day before, if it was the morning, I'd be like, okay, we've got a day to figure this out.
Yeah.
It's when it's 6 p.m. I'm like, guys.
Just give us a reason. My thing is reason.
I'm ill.
Or I no longer can commit to this as I have another work commitment.
Yeah.
Obviously,
you've got something.
Get your bag.
Get the bag.
But when it's silence?
When it's just like, can't come anymore.
Oh.
Sorry, I'm just trying to find the reason.
Like now?
Just trying to find the reason as to why you can't.
Yeah, I can't find it.
Having communicated that, I don't know. We're just really big on communication.
Yeah, I think,
And we're used to having our time wasted, so we understand.
Yeah.
But, like, it's just... do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
though?
it's sad that that's, like, a thing we're used to.
I guess so. But, yeah, no, the people who do come on, or the people who try and they genuinely have to drop out for genuine reasons and all of this stuff, like, we appreciate them just agreeing in the first place.
Like,
it's just
blows
wild.
my mind. Especially when they come... everyone has really good energy. We're doing early call times, you know, sometimes it's before breakfast, before lunch, like, people, I still can't get over it, like, people giving us their time, like, and their minds, because, like, when I notice this the most is during the 60-second campaign, because you really get to see their mind work, like, they get random brief, they can give you an idea in 60 seconds, or, like, a little bit more, but that's when you're like, this is not just a creator that, you know, isn't an expert, this is an actual expert.
Absolutely, because the way it takes time to come up with a good concept, obviously I'm sure if we gave them a day, they would come up with something even better. But the fact that they give us something so excellent in just 60 seconds, on the spot after hearing a brief, it's just great. Yeah, so but I hope brands don't take that as... Oh, no. Like, we still need to give creators time.
The same way you give, you know, other professionals a time of day.
Yeah.
They have good days, they're just good at what they do, so they can kind of do it off the dome.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not
it's like compounded over time.
Yes.
Like, you're paying them for all of that expertise they've compounded over
that's what you're paying
years
for.
And years. Mm-hmm. Not just because it'll take them 5 minutes to shoot the video. Yeah. It's the decades... For most, like a lot of people have spent decades building audiences, building their craft.
Yeah, it's like a consultant.
Absolutely.
You're paying for their expertise. Yeah. Like, run me up my money.
Honestly.
Sorry, you didn't say your least favourite.
So my favourite part of the process, like you, is production. Least favourite part is post-production. Yeah. And being an editor, that hurts. Because I just came in with such lofty expectations of how amazing this post-production process was going to be. I'm like, oh, it's such a simple setup. 3 cameras. We've even gone down to 2 cameras. Surely this is going to be easy. Yeah. So hard. Yeah. So hard for no reason. And I've spoken to so many other people who make podcasts, and they're like, yeah, post-production is the hardest part of a podcast. Of course. When logistically and in your mind, you feel like it should be the easiest part.
Especially when you've done, I think, 1 or 2 episode drafts. It's like, we get it. Cool.
Yeah. It's just not... And I think because for us, we outsource a lot, and I think our post-production workflow is the element that we are struggling to nail the most. I feel like we've nailed pre-production, as difficult as it is. We kind of know how to get it done now, and it gets easier because now we don't have to do as much convincing to people. Now it's just logistics of what dates can people do. Because even for season 4, we've got more than a season with what we filmed so far. Do you know what I mean? We've got more than 6 episodes. Yeah, yeah. But with post-production, it's like we're still having to teach this workflow and still having to work on this workflow, even though it's theoretically very simple.
It's not theoretical, it is.
Simple.
I fear, like I said, if InShot had a masking text tool, I would be running this episode up on my phone.
It's just not hard.
So...
It's not hard.
But also, I just wanted to tap into what you just said about how it's easy now to kind of get people on board, where it's the proof of concept is completely done. Like, we're good, and we've got to a point where people are willing to come on. That was not always the case.
Bro, the way we begged in season 1 and 2.
We were begging people to be on season 1 and 2, and I think it's so nice, especially now. Ooh.
Sorry, I was just going to say, season 1 we didn't even beg, because we couldn't. We had we had to use our friends.
We used our friends and family.
Friends and family and us.
And other creators who,
not a soul understood this idea.
No.
But how could they? There's no proof of concept. But
like, our minds are just so... Our minds.
There could be 100 people in the room.
And that one person.
And that was all of them. That was all of season 1.
Shout out to those guys, because we wouldn't have a season without you. We wouldn't be at season 4, season 3. Like, we wouldn't have the crazy creators we've had on.
And I also want to say shout out to everyone who came to our season 1 premiere screening.
Let's talk about that real quick.
So for the rollout, so we've obviously been talking about the stages of production.
Yes.
One very key part of production is rollout, marketing.
Yes.
And we both have very strong marketing backgrounds and still work very heavily in marketing today.
Yes.
But for season 1, we were like, we need to do a crazy rollout for this.
Do something crazy.
As crazy as we can get. So we hosted 2 premiere screenings, one in London and one in Nairobi.
Same
day. We had Eli host the Nairobi one, and that was amazing. And we hosted the London one.
Yes.
And shout out to everyone who came to this screening, because even someone like Paolo, Keenan, Keith, those guys came to the screening and then later came on season 2.
Yeah.
They had no reason whatsoever to come and watch season 1. There was nothing. They knew nothing about the show. They knew name.
But also because we invited not just creators but people within the industry who were some of the managers, like Shift, that also played a big role, I think. Because the managers were like, this is clearly a great value exchange.
Yeah.
And then now that helped the other creators, see like the creative vision side of it. So having both of them at the mixer wasn't just like, it wasn't coincidence. It was strategic.
It's very strategic.
To have the 2 people there. And I think that's how we got the success of season 2 with these creators.
And
for sure.
And then also speaking about brands like YouTube, for example. Like the YouTube team, I can't even fathom how supportive they've been this whole journey. Because again, from the beginning, I think a lot of the time with these platforms, people obviously think you have to be these huge creators to be able to even like meet with a member of the team. And you could argue, yes, I make YouTube videos, but I'm not on millions of subscribers to the point where multiple people from the team would take time out of their day to come and support a project that hasn't launched to the public yet.
And it's not like it's exclusive to YouTube.
Not exclusive to YouTube, nothing. Just for the sake of being like, let me show up and support one of our creators.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like a good idea.
Yeah. Platforms that support their creators.
The end. And I'm so grateful to them, because even to this day, even if they can't support us in like one way, they've will do their best to support us in another way.
Yeah.
They're always so
they've helped us reach new people. They've helped us with our network. Like they've helped build out this podcast network. So they've been amazing. And like I'm not even part of the YouTube community. I'm not a YouTuber. I don't create YouTube content. Technically, I have no business being in YouTube's like inbox. Do you know what I mean? But the fact that they've done this like with us, and like it's been wild even to have the connections they've given us.
So wild. So yeah, we prioritized the rollout of season 1 heavily. We invested a lot of money and time into this rollout. Yes. Something we are very aware that is a privilege for us to do, because it's not even
Must we address the privilege?
But it's like, I think a lot of the time there's this narrative around like, oh, you can just start this thing and it's going to succeed.
You can listen, anyone can start a podcast.
True.
However, if you want your podcast to, for example, what we're doing, this isn't a podcast where it's us as personalities getting people to tune in because of us. We are having other people who are personalities being part of this podcast. That's why they're tuning in. So you can be a personality and make your podcast any time of day of the week with your phone. That's fine, because you have a community that's going to tap in. However, we knew that we're bringing on big creators and creators that are credible. So we need to make sure that the set reflects that, the structure reflects that, the post, pre, rollout, everything reflects the caliber of creators and also the educational aspect of this podcast. So we obviously knew that we have to invest in it. And I think that, us being like, it's coming from a privileged position. It's not from a like that's,
I'm privileged in the sense that we had thousands that we were able to be like, let's hire this screening.
Thousands of pounds?
Yeah.
From what though?
From our pockets.
It's not generational wealth, babe.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not talking about that.
Yeah, I'm saying.
But it's still like, it's a
privilege we're able to create it, but we have not come from a privileged position where it's just been
given.
We've just taken cash and invested. No, this is like from our own pocket that we've invested, because we both work for ourselves. We're both self-employed.
And have been for
And we had been. Like, I'd say the privilege has come from us being able to work with companies and brands that have been able to give us that income. That's where the privilege lies. But again, it still comes from hard work.
Oh, yeah. All of this is stemmed from hard work. There is not a single day where we haven't had to work.
There is no, like...
harder than everyone else.
There's no nepotism here.
I wish there was. I wish.
Not a dime.
Sometimes I'm like, just a silver teaspoon. Not even a full-on spoon. Just a teaspoon. Tiny. Like one of those tiny dessert caricature spoons.
Yeah, just something. But yeah, it's been crazy that we've been able to achieve it, but I would never, ever knock the amount of hard work that's had to go into this.
Yeah.
Because outside of this, we, again, are two creators. We're smaller creators, okay? We don't have huge followings. So we obviously don't make as much as bigger creators. And we're also juggling like other things. So, you know, you do like speaking on panels. You've done consultation. I do content creation, and I do content creation. I work in marketing, a marketing agency. So it's like a lot of plates are spinning. Those plates are helping fund this other plate that's now spinning as well. So like it's not been just something that we can we've just been like, let's try this. No, that's why like I was saying anyone can start a podcast, but for us to get to the place we're at and like for it to look the way it does, we've had to set a standard, and we know we've had to set a standard because of our experiences as creators in this economy.
Very true. So those would be my favourite and least favourites.
Yeah,
anyway.
Amazing.
Costs are the hardest part of this whole process.
I think that's the hardest thing. And we're only getting to a point now where we're monetizing the podcast.
But we say only because we've obviously been working on this for years, like two and a bit years. It's only been out in the world for 5 months at this point anyway. And the fact that we've already been able to make money on it is insane to me.
But it's because we've made the podcast at a level, like, it all compounds.
It's like we're still not profiting.
No.
But we made
when
something.
We say like, comment, subscribe, share, turn on your notification bell, it's not a joke. It's really not a joke, please. I don't think you understand. Like,
it'll take us a while to break even.
Listen to the whole episode.
It'll take us a long while to break even.
We see the retention rate. We need everyone locked in the whole time. Please, guys. Please.
The short form clips are cute, but the long episodes are where it's
because I've heard of people be like, oh yeah, I saw you on TikTok, or I saw your thing on Instagram.
YouTube.
Go on to YouTube. What do you mean? Get off of TikTok. Go and watch something long form. Get your brain back in tune. You know what? People's attention span. Honestly. But yeah, no, it's been a lot. It's been a lot of money, a lot of investment, but we're now seeing the compound interest of how much we've invested into this, like now.
Yeah, and
I hit the mic.
It's okay. And even just like where we are right now, this is like a exciting nod to season 4, which you'll see. We're working with some really cool brand partners in the next season, and we just can't even fathom the fact that this is happening so soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, the cost, the investment, because it's obviously the time, which is a huge cost.
Yeah.
Which people often forget.
Yes.
Your time is incredibly valuable. I'm in a season of life where I'm valuing my time over my money.
Yeah.
And then obviously all the money we're spending, whether that's on our softwares, whether that's on production, whether that's lunch, whether that's on studio space. Yeah. It's thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands, tens of thousands by this point. Where did this money come from?
It's not been coming in. It came in.
It's been going out though.
Gone.
Going out.
Which is why I go back to the point, like comment, share, subscribe, turn on your notification bell. Please.
The bell. Heavy on the bell.
And if you see an ad, if you've got an ad blocker, turn it off. Turn it off. Please.
I have YouTube Premium.
Oh. Does that stop?
I don't see a single
Does that affect
ad.
the monetization?
No.
Okay.
I don't think it does.
Good.
I don't think because you pay money.
You're paying YouTube, yeah, so surely not, yeah.
So then I think a percentage of that money. Anyway.
It must good. Anyway, that's not part of this podcast.
So what is the easiest part of the process?
Production.
Oh yeah, I guess. But that's because we don't do it.
I think the reason I say production is easiest, one, because we don't do it, but two, we've got to a point where we've got this on lock. Like, I have to say, one of my biggest prides to this podcast, apart from the branding, which I feel like we ate with that. Hey. Yeah, we did. Is when people come and they're like, I just love the process. It's so smooth. Like, that's such a testament to us and the team that we work with. Like, that's why I love it, because the day is so easy. The energy is so good.
So chill.
People come in, like, the conversation's fun. Like, and we've got it down to a T where it's like nobody feels that awkwardness. There's not like a breaking of the ice.
Yeah.
So that's one of the easiest parts for me, because we've gotten to a point where we know the structure of this day from start to finish.
I think also because now our production team, George.
We now have a good production team.
We've got a good production team. We
didn't have that in season 1. We didn't have that in season 1.
Season 1 was
We didn't have that in season 1.
Like
No, sorry. We didn't have that in season 1 UK. We had it season 1 in Kenya. 10 out of 10. Yeah. Great production team.
Yeah.
UK, no.
UK season 1
And I'm not afraid to say that.
the credits are there, unfortunately.
They
You
are.
can see the credits.
They are, and I think that really taps into a conversation we wanted to have.
But before we get to that,
Sorry, I'm just really eager.
before we get to that, our production now, like we've been working with the same production for 3 seasons now.
Yeah.
Not when we're in New York, but when we're in England. And we just all get it so much. We know the concept.
Yeah.
We know what's going on. The vibe's always great. Like, we never have to worry, like, about educating production on, like we never have to tell George, like, oh, this is what guests need to do.
Yeah.
Like, if we weren't here, he would
George
be
could,
able to be like,
low-key, if we weren't doing admin, I don't know if we'd need to be here. I fear George could do this himself. He'd be like, guys, it's fine.
like, the number of times, like, there have been times where George is literally like, okay, so you sit here, and then
I'm
you
like,
do
well,
this, and you do this.
we can
and
go.
We're like, okay, cool.
Go off, George.
He knows what's on. He knows what's going on.
He's got it on lock.
So yeah, we've just got a really great workflow.
Yeah.
And when you find good people, hold on to them.
Hold them.
Because they are so difficult to find.
Tell them you love them more.
Yeah. So
I think that, again, that takes us back to what I was talking about.
You're not gonna forget
I'm not
about
going to let it go, because it's a conversation that we had in the previous episode that we filmed the first time that was incredibly impactful.
Yeah.
Okay. And the conversation is, we are, if you haven't seen us, if you're listening, we are 2 beautiful black women. And we are, I would say we look rather youthful. So people sometimes think we might be a bit younger.
They do think we're young.
Yes, thank you so much. Skincare's working. But people think we're like quite young, a bit naive. And I do think there's, specifically within production, I think the industry, because it's quite like male dominated, I think there's like a precursor of like how we're going to get treated.
Yeah.
And we definitely saw that in season 1, where it's like our time, our vision, our energy, our money wasn't being respected. And one, it changes the vibe on set. It gets to a point where the quality of the content we're producing is not up to par. And if that person was to put the content that they've been producing for other people who don't look like us alongside the content they produce for us, you wouldn't say it's the same company. No. Because there's no consistency in quality control. Like, there's no quality control, sorry.
No,
so
whatsoever.
For me, dealing with that in season 1 made me so like adamant that the next person we work with is the complete opposite of that. And that's what George is like. And we wouldn't work with him as well if we didn't have such good reviews from like Eli and Oscar. So that's what happens when you're good at what you do. You respect your client no matter what they look like, no matter their gender, when you're good at what you do and you just care about the craft, no matter who the client is, that shows. And now we're here today.
And just basic respect as well. Like, people shouldn't need to earn your respect.
No.
You should be able to just respect everyone regardless of their job title, their role, as you were saying. Like, we shouldn't need to be these like big time Hollywood people for you to respect us and treat us like human beings.
Yeah. And what happens when you tell somebody about the title that you have? If you have a great anecdote of this, Tati. Title of what you do as
oh my god.
Share with the group.
So I went to view a space one time.
Yeah.
And I walk in, the vibes are just completely off. They're not really paying attention to me. I'm asking, oh, is this place soundproof? Because I heard a train go by.
Yeah.
I just wanted to.
And by the way, we're doing
check.
a podcast, so sometimes I think sound is quite important. Like off the top of my head.
I heard it. I was like, let me just flag this just in case. But I didn't want to come off confrontational, so I just posed it as a question.
Because we're scared.
Scared.
Don't want to be. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, is this soundproof? Because I feel like and the guy was like, yep, complete soundproof, like you'll never be able to hear anything. I was like, sick. And then he was like, so yeah, like what is it that you do? And I was like, oh, I'm an executive producer on the show. And he was like, oh, okay.
Switch.
Just like that.
Switch.
And this happens to me even when I'm doing stuff outside of Creators on Creators.
Yeah,
I'll show up to do a panel.
Yeah, I saw yours. Yeah.
I'll show up to do a panel. I'm seeing people, oh, would you like me to take your coat? Would you like me to take your jacket? I walk in, everyone looks at me, looks away. Cool. The second it's revealed that I'm the one on the panel, that I'm a speaker, whatever. Yeah. Oh, so lovely to meet you. We've heard so much. You've heard so much.
You didn't even acknowledge me when I walked in.
Didn't acknowledge me.
Yeah.
I'm having to ask people, where's the cloakroom? Where's the cloakroom? No one wants to tell me.
Yeah.
It's silly.
It's silly.
And I'm used to it.
Yeah, and of course we're used to it. Of course we are. So this is your sign. If you are maybe not the majority, use your title. Let your title enter the room first, because that's the only way you're going to get respect.
And
apparently,
it shouldn't have to be that way.
Yeah, exactly.
I should be able to walk into a room
basic human.
And be given the basic human respect.
Yeah.
Not having to say, I'm an executive producer, I'm on this panel, I'm working with so-and-so, for you to now decide, I'm going to
give you the time of day. I'm going to treat you like a human.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it was good, though, that we had each other through this process, because it's like, one of the things we said in the previous episode was this feeling of like, am I going mad? Like, is this person like treating me differently? But it's good because we have each other to bounce ideas off.
And like, I'm not going mad.
We're not going mad. Yeah. And I think that's one of the best things about doing this podcast has been having a partner.
Oh,
like,
honestly,
it's been...
And a good one at
It's been great having you.
It's been really great. And a good
great.
one.
Good.
Because, do you know, I mean, we were saying it's really hard to find good people to work with.
It is.
But something about, I mean, we were both brought up in a very similar way just because of being first gen, immigrant type vibes.
Immigrant, full stop.
Yeah, first generation. And being black women, like you're brought up in a way, we know how it is. We don't need to say this 100 times.
Yeah, we all know.
You have to be excellent.
Yeah.
You have to work 10
harder.
times as hard, blah, blah, blah. So when you work with people who already know that, and you don't have to convince someone to work hard. Or just work. Full stop.
Because like, again, Kim said, and I hate to ever say that I agree with Kim, but people don't want to work anymore.
People don't want to work. But we both have, we both just align so well with just working hard.
Work. I fear
I
fear it's common sense.
I fear we actually don't even work. We work hard, yes. But like, that's the bare minimum. Why are people not working hard?
When I hear things about people being like, it's just you.
I can't say that.
Like, what are people doing? It's like, thanks for the quick turnaround.
I'm just doing my job.
I need to see other people's emails, like, and how they reply to emails, and like how they do their concepts and treatments, because
bro, the stories we could tell, but these aren't our stories.
These are not
to
our
tell,
stories,
unfortunately. But like the stories we hear, just like in the content creator world, of people doing the bare minimum and getting hundreds and thousands worth in deals.
Yeah. Again, I've learned this the hard way the last, like, I'd say 3 years. It's not about talent. It's not about talent. It's just about being gutsy and being like, I'm going to go for it.
Yeah.
Because if they're, let me go as well.
But that only works for some people. You can, if you're white, fine. So sorry. It's not, we can't just ask, hey, can I have this? They don't care.
But I think, do you know what it is? I think we've learned that this year that we can do that.
Well, we've made our own tables. And then they have no choice but to
exactly. And again, that's going back to the thing I was saying. Again, most people can start a podcast, but you can't sometimes enter a room with your proof of concept, because you might have the proof of concept, doesn't mean it's a good one.
Yeah, facts. Sorry.
Spend
time on research and development. Spend time on that.
Let's talk about the US.
Oh, I love the US. I love America. New York. America, the USA, obviously, just like, I really do believe in this, like, this radical optimism that they have.
They do be having it.
This just American dream.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous how you really do feel like it's a land of opportunity.
It is. I've never felt so comfortable in my ambition.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's something about this country. Please don't take my passport.
Please don't.
But like, there's something about the UK that sometimes you don't feel like you should dream.
You can't
that
dream.
big, because it crushes you. It crushes you to the point where you're like, why bother? Like, why have dreams?
Why bother? In America, they're like, go, chase them.
Yes.
The world is your oyster. Yeah, of course you can do anything.
Yeah.
Over here, it's like you're trying to do anything other than a typical 9 to 5.
Status
They said
quo?
High School Musical 2 stick to that status quo.
They did. What a reference. What a reference.
Thank you.
Culture. Good.
But in America, we've just been, like, I feel like so many doors have opened to us without us even
asking.
Do you know what I mean?
Because I think, and we literally had this conversation when we arrived in New York to film season 3 or 2 of Creators on Creators, where it's like, America has a bootstrap mentality, which is sometimes detrimental. Of course. But they have this idea that anyone can do it if you work hard enough. Yeah. And the thing about the UK is it's rooted so much in like classism. Yeah. So it's like, if you're of a certain class, don't dream too big. Don't. Because that's not for you, that's for another class. Or even like, you know, when it comes to within like the creative space, it's like, I don't know if I should give you this email because, you know, I'm at this position, they're at this position, you're not even at my position, so why would you now be allowed to get you know, to another position. So I think the way that the US works, like people just having, like you're saying, a radical optimism and like understanding that if I do the work, I put myself in the right space, I will get there.
Yeah.
And no one wanting to crush it.
Yeah.
It was completely different to create a podcast there.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
And we're not even saying that these barriers to entry don't exist and there are these systemic barriers in place. Obviously, they're there.
Gosh, America
but
with that.
The mindset and the belief is everything.
Yeah.
Of course, we have those same barriers here. Like, we're not going to suddenly go to America and not be black women facing systemic racism.
No, we won't.
But we're not going to be told over there, you can't dream big or you can't achieve this.
And also there's enough of a community there of black women that look like us to help us be like, even like when we're producing the podcast, we were having, it was wild to have like the producer was a black woman. I was like, this is crazy.
Black-owned studio, by the way.
A black-owned studio!
The Wi-Fi password was, actually I can't say that.
You can't say the Wi-Fi password. You can't say that. But it was very...
It was... we might not be the same.
That's not important, you know? But yeah, like just being able to have we filmed this episode once, okay? And the producer for that episode was a black woman. And then the conversation afterwards, when we were done, we were talking about, you know, the dreams that they had, like the idea of like continue to work and like she had lofty goals and we were going back and forth and then she was like, you know, she was confirming us and affirming us like what we were saying on the podcast. So like you're saying, you know, you'll go there and they're not going to say don't dream because there's enough women that look like us who have dreamed that are like at these positions where I don't know if I see that enough here. No. Again, just because of how people view this idea of like dreaming big.
Yeah. People are willing to help regardless of your size. Even if it's like, you could have one follower and you say, I just really want to work with so-and-so.
Could be one person in the room.
Could be one person in the room. But someone will be like, oh, I know exactly a way to help you right now. Yeah. If you show that dedication, it's all about the mindset for them.
Yeah, massively.
If you just give the good energy and show that you're willing to work super hard, people love that. Yeah. And I just love that, I mean, people are really buying into this idea in the US. Yeah. And it's great, like, building like a community over there of just like brands who are just keen to even just talk. Yeah. And other people who are keen to come on the episode and like do events together.
Gosh. The people that have agreed to be on the podcast, by the way, we're not knocking the UK creators or the brands that have reached out to us. We're just saying that it felt a lot smoother in terms of the process. I think it's been smooth for us in the UK now because of the work we did in the US. And the reason we got to the stuff in the US is because the barriers to entry felt easier. So that's why we are where we are. Yeah. Yeah.
The US has been a huge help for us.
Massively.
And we only intend to keep that bond going and make it stronger as time goes on. Obviously, we'd love to expand into other countries as well. Yes. Because our main thing, when we talk about our mission, is building community, making this information accessible, and making the opinions we're hearing from as diverse as possible. Yeah. Whether that be race, gender, sexuality, disability, location, everything. Yeah. We just want to hear from as many voices as possible. Yeah. Because there's such a lack of this.
There's a lack.
So, There's a note on our page which says, white men supporting black women.
That's a really good point. I think we should talk about it.
So, there was this study that came out. I can't remember when this came out at the point of this episode going out, but it was basically looking at the corporate world in the UK specifically and who would be more likely to help black women in the workplace, white men or white women? And the study showed that it was white men. And initially I was like, surely it would be white women though, because it's like feminism, we're all women.
Feminism, asterisks.
And it's that asterisks that we need to look into. But we've noticed that firsthand with our podcast. Yeah. Because, I mean, you can look at our roster of creators. Yeah. We have so many white men like reaching out to help us behind the scenes, who we work with behind the scenes, who we worked with brand side, all of this, who've been on the podcast. Yeah. The one demographic we struggle to get on this podcast the most is white women. And that's not for lack of trying. We try so hard, but they don't want anything to do with us.
It's actually quite sad.
I don't know why, because I'm like, guys, I really like you.
Like, I follow so many, like, white female creators. Like, I love really the girls like down.
I really like you guys.
Why don't you have us back? So shout out to all the white women who have supported this podcast.
Yeah, because there are...
Genuinely.
Like, Charlotte and Steph, they were so glad.
You guys!
Love you guys.
And also, I think the reason we want to bring it up, is because, you know, black female creators versus white female creators, there's a massive disparity in terms of pay.
Yeah.
Just pay. Let's start with pay.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about experience, right?
Yeah.
There's a huge disparity with pay. So being able to have that information on the podcast and that insight is to shine a light on the fact that there's a disparity, because it shouldn't be there.
It shouldn't be there.
If you have the same amount of followers, okay, the only thing that's changing is your skin color.
Yeah.
So that's why we want to have white women on this podcast, because they are at a privileged position, because we know this from facts, from conversation. They're being paid more.
And you can almost argue even within the creator economy specifically. Obviously, in the workplace, white men are leading.
Of course.
But within the creator economy, I would almost argue that white women are at the top.
Yes, of course.
Because the beauty industry is probably the biggest.
Yeah.
And who leads the beauty industry? White women. And now to go to the reason behind this being the result, it stems from this like notion of feminism, specifically white feminism. Because there's apparently like white women see black women as competition because we're women, yes, but we're not, I don't know, we're threatening
it's
in
the
some way?
I think it's to do with the fact that when it comes to feminism is not rooted within black women. Black women were not part of the conversation.
Never.
Even suffragettes, we weren't part of that.
No.
We weren't the ones getting trampled by horses.
No.
Okay, we weren't part of that conversation. So now when you come to feminism, it's this lack of understanding of intersectionality, because it's like if you're a white woman, feminism and your gender is like your biggest issue.
Yeah.
That's it. As a black woman, I have my gender and my race. So I have misogynoir working against, my gender, that's misogyny.
Yeah.
My gender, my race working against me. So there's two parts of this.
Yeah.
We are not the same in our struggle.
We're not the same. You can never say we struggle the same because we're both women.
We don't. So we need to understand that. And I think a lot of the time there isn't that understanding. So it feels like we don't really have a place within feminism. I don't know. And then I think that maybe creates divide.
Yeah.
Because we both think that we're at the same level of disadvantage.
Well, no, white women think that they're the same level of disadvantage as black
exactly.
women, whereas we know we're not.
We know we're not, and it's like you have to accept the fact. The same way white men are like, I've now accepted the fact I am privileged.
Yeah.
It's a tough pill to swallow, but swallow it, and then do your best to help others and bring people up from different, from minorities who aren't privileged.
Which is what we found. Yeah. We found that so much. Like, it's genuinely so many white men being like, let's help these guys. Sorry, I feel bad. Maybe it's a guilt thing. Maybe it's like I feel bad. Once you're comfortable in the fact that you're privileged, you have no issue just being a good person. Yeah. Because it feels like you're now operating from a place of internal guilt if you're constantly
maybe that's why that study is.
Exactly.
We're yet to understand it, but it's just something we've noticed, and that was a very interesting study that when you told me about it, I was like, wow. Yeah. So hiring for the CLC team, how was that? Maybe you can give us some insight how you found that.
It started off really well, then it went really badly, and now it's good again. But it's just been turbulent, to be honest. Yeah. I think, again, going back to post-production, that's been the hardest thing. Yeah. It's just hard. I don't know why. Like,
hiring is hard.
Like, and I think running business, we often hyperfixate on the business itself. Yeah. What is the service we're providing? What's the product we're providing? But really, the most important skill is managing people and communication. Yeah. And we've learnt a lot. I think I've learned a lot about myself and my communication style and my patience.
I've learned a lot about your patience and your communication style too.
Because I'm very much of like, when it comes to, I'm not talking personal life, when it comes to business, I'm excellent at communicating. If something's going on, if we say, I'm going to get this done at this time, or I'm going to send this over to you at this time, if I'm not now going to do that, I'll say, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah, hey, by the way, something's come up. Hey,
So I now struggle working with people who don't do that.
And a lot of people don't do that.
It's not common sense to, like, the way we work is not the standard of how people work, because
that's very
I don't know what it is. I don't know what we did or where we went to learn these skills, but it's not the general skill set of everyone to know how to communicate in a business way. Yeah. You know? Maybe it's our parents are super entrepreneurial. Yeah,
I don't know. I'm trying to think where I learned this, but I think it goes to the fact it's like just going above and beyond being the bare minimum. Because it's like, I'd rather, if I'm communicating with someone or doing a job for someone, I'd rather leave as little room for error as physically possible. So even for me, like when I'm thinking about asking a question maybe to a brand, right? Yeah. Now let's say it's a brand partner we want to work with on the podcast. Before I ask that question, I ask myself the question, if I Google this, can I find the answer before I ask them and waste their time? Because if I'm going to ask this company a question that could have been done in 5 minutes, I'm showing that I'm wasting their time. It's showing that a lack of common sense, and also that lack of I don't know how to describe it, but it just seems careless. There seems like a carelessness. So I always, before I do a lot of things, I always think, 1, can I solve this issue myself? 2, where can I find the resources to solve this issue? Have I tried my best to solve this issue? No? Like, yes? Okay, then I now need to go to the only other person I know that can solve this issue, which would be like the brand or you or the editor.
I've tried this, by the way, so that they don't have to think, oh, what if, let me go and search this. Like, we know we've exhausted all options.
Over communication is actually really good.
Absolutely. I'd much rather you email me 3 times in a row being like, this is done now.
Highlighting what I'm saying in bold.
Sorry. Can we talk about it?
No.
Ah! I want to talk about it so bad.
No.
Oh, okay, fine.
Because it's just so raw, so real. I think one thing is, email chains can make or break relationships, which is where I think this over communication thing is super important. Because I think if you continually over communicate and make sure you get all of your information out there, there can be no room for doubt or room for error where it's like, hey, I said this and this and this, so please never think that, another thing, because I've always shown and explained myself as much as possible, so there should be no confusion here.
Yeah, and if I don't know, maybe if I ask you 3 questions in an email, ask them all 3. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like, do you know what I mean, though?
No, I know what you mean.
You're coming back and being like, what's this? We were talking about this before and you ignored me.
Yes. Again, over communication. 10 out of 10 idea.
Oh.
So going now back to what you were saying about understanding yourself in terms of how you communicate, just finish off that.
So I am very much, I don't know, once I've said something once, I don't like to say it again.
Hate it.
And I also explain things very clearly. If you work with me, you'll know, for example, if I'm even just for a silly little collaborative post on Instagram, I'll make 3 separate PDFs.
You will, yeah.
I'm very detailed, very detail-oriented, very communicative.
Yes.
I'll send voice notes, this.
Yes.
So now when I'm met with energy, which is like, oh, what was that again? Oh, what was this again?
Oh, can you send the link again? It's expired. Like,
the link expired.
Thank God for WeTransfer doing that thing now.
Yeah.
When is it happening, by the way?
I think it should have already happened. I have WeTransfer Pro anyway, so this has never affected me. But
sorry, boss. Sorry. YouTube Premium and
Spotify Premium, WeTransfer Premium.
Yeah.
Notion Premium.
Yeah. Talk your talk. Talk your talk, Tati.
But I'm very much an over communicator in that sense. I prepare. I give you everything you need. So now when you come back to me asking me things that I've outlined before, it just shows me you don't respect my time because you haven't paid attention to what I've given you.
Again, I always think about my PR in everything. How am I coming across?
I want someone to be like, oh yeah, I worked with Tati. She was so easy to work with.
Yeah, and they do be saying that.
They do, and I have receipts. Sorry.
Yeah, so I think also what we've learned as well is, just to jump off what you said, is when working in a team, understanding each other's strengths is what I would say.
Yeah, I understand my weaknesses.
Within a team, I think, again, PR is so important. So one of the things we've learned is that we both handle different things. Like, we should handle different things.
Yeah. Like, for me, example, I'm not going to chat to post-production.
Yeah.
Because I have, like, that's, as we've said, very sore spot for me.
Yeah, it is.
So
that's your pain point, okay?
My pain point is post-production, so I avoid it.
Yes, so now when you're working in a team, now that pain point, I'm like, okay, I understand that's your pain point. I'm going to help you with this pain point, because if I don't, then no one's getting an episode.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So then you identify my pain points, and then she helps me with that. So it's about understanding when you've hired somebody, when you're working with a team. Now that workflow might not be something that everyone wants to get involved in, and I think that's absolutely fair.
Yeah.
That's one thing I've learned a lot about, like, teamwork, understanding different people in teams, and understanding, like, the way that people communicate sometimes doesn't work for other people. So it's like, okay, I'm going to eliminate your communication as much as possible.
Yeah.
Just so we can get to the point.
I'm very much a big fan of asynchronous work. We come together to discuss and delegate.
Yes.
Let's not sit on a Teams call or Meets call for hours on end doing work.
No.
We're big girls. Adults. We can work independently now.
We can.
So that's very much my working style, whereas I feel like a lot of people need to be micromanaged and pulled through. And I will never micromanage you.
Do you know what it is? I hate being pushed to a point of micromanaging. And I think a lot of the time, this applies, I think, to a lot of things, and something that if you're planning on making a podcast, or you're planning on building out a production team.
Or business,
whatever, try to avoid micromanaging and try to highlight to people in your team the ways to avoid you becoming a micromanager.
Yeah.
Because I think if you've got similar like personality to us, where we're very detail orientated, we like to make sure things are done to a certain standard every time. So just like basic continuity. You need to really communicate to your team and the people you're working with exactly what you want. And when you're met maybe with, if we go back to this point in this email or this thing, it was lined out for you, just refer to that.
Yeah.
I think if you have to repeat yourself more than 3-4 times to somebody.
Twice.
I think 3 times is like my limit, where I'm like, it feels like you're not listening to me. Do you know what I mean? I don't like that. So I think that's one thing I've learned a lot, and I think people should really take into consideration is how you're managing the team and how do you communicate that you do not want to micromanage and make sure that they have systems set up so that you don't have to do that. Because also it creates animosity and it creates tension, and that just slows down the workflow, that slows down the team and your ultimate goal. Yeah. And then no one's happy.
And the thing is...
And you're being paid.
You're being paid. And the thing is, everyone... We're not sitting here saying that some people are not good at what they do. No. It's just that they're not necessarily good at working with us because of our style of working. Yeah.
But people aren't, like, not everyone gets along. Like, that's, like, in basic friendships, the same with work.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's just managing relationships. But then at the same time, I think with us, our style is very much independence. We like people, and we like working with people who are completely independent. We don't need to, we can tell you one time, and you'll do it.
If I don't have to talk to you like more than twice, great.
Great.
Got too many things in my mind. I'm just checking in for work.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
But it's been, when we've found good team members, it's been so great because we just all feel like we're not on top of each other. We're just all doing our own thing.
Yeah.
And we just come together so well. It's not a case of like we're always on top of each other. Like, how do you do this? But
Google is so free.
Independence is so valuable. I really don't like it when people encroach on mine. So that's why I feel so strongly about not encroaching on other people's.
So we've been able to work with some great teams, like the ones we've been able to work with for events. So you could definitely like touch on that because I think that's a big part of the podcast community we've built.
Yeah, the reason why we want to do events so much and continue to do them is because community is a big thing for us.
Yeah.
Building the creative community, whether that's within the C-on-C alumni or just the wider community. So that's been done through a series of mixers, the screenings, the live episodes.
Yeah.
At the time this has come out, this is probably, I don't know, it was probably like...
We would have had
another mixer.
Yeah.
Another London mixer. Maybe the New York mixer's around the corner. Maybe it's happening.
Promo's going out.
I don't know.
It's definitely going out by now.
Yeah. So like for that, for example, these next ones, we're working with a creative community in London called Lit Creative Crew. And in the US, we've been working with Let's Ripple.
Yes.
And honestly, it's just really great to come together with other communities who really value building creative communities.
Yes.
Diverse creative communities at that. The process of putting together an event is definitely...
Let's get into it.
Ups and downs.
Yeah.
I think putting together our first London mixer was such a nightmare.
Let's talk about that because I think we all saw the post at the beginning of this year talking about our first event.
Yeah.
And should we give them the real tea? Because we gave a PR. You know, when every crisis happens to a celebrity, public figure, there is a PR statement they put out.
Yeah.
You know, and
crisis management.
Exactly. So our PR statement was like, we are so overwhelmed by the people, saying they would like to attend, that we want to get a bigger, better space. Bigger and better, okay?
Which is partially true.
It is massively true because there was a lot of people that signed up, more than we thought was going to sign up.
Yes.
However, it wasn't just the space being too small. The space disappeared. It disappeared.
So
dissipated.
What happened was we had a company reach out to us. They reached out to us. Unprovoked. No one told them to reach out to us.
No one.
Offering a space for an event. They said, we'd love for you to host an event with us.
Yeah.
And then contacted us back later on after we had announced the event and agreed to announce said event that the space had fallen through because they weren't set up to run events.
Yeah. And they liked the post. They were like, oh, so exciting. Great to see it's going live.
And then said,
oh,
so
no.
sorry, we actually don't have the bandwidth to do an event.
Oh, dang it.
I was like, guys, why are we...
Again, it's the wasting of our time.
And do you know what makes it even better?
Oh, it happened again. They reached back out. So sorry that happened.
Not even that.
What?
We had a different space to reach out for us to do an event.
Yeah, that happened again.
The same thing happened again.
We posted about it. Super excited. Open, sign up.
People were RSVPing, getting tickets. And then they said, we were chasing and chasing and chasing and chasing. Yeah. Less than a week before the event.
Yeah.
So sorry.
We need to take down all our event promo before they...
Yeah. So sorry. We actually... we can't have the space right now. The owner is just like not... I don't even know what the excuse was.
How do people pitch events? My thing is, it just makes... Again, it goes back to that thing like we will talk about how when guests cancel one day before, we look unprofessional to our community.
Yeah.
And we want to at least look like we have somewhat of our heads screwed on.
And this wasn't even... The thing that annoyed me is that these companies were reaching out to
us.
I'd understand if we'd reached out to them, they'd said yes, and then come back and be like, actually, sorry, we can't. You reached out to us, begging for us to do this event with you.
Yeah. It actually was more... It was an inconvenience.
It's such an... We were like, okay, I guess we'll do an event.
Yeah, so then now we both work. We're self-employed. We don't have time. Money does not come in every single 30th on every single month. No, we are scrapping, trying to get money. trying to get our hands in every pot. So now to add this event like on top of our responsibilities, and then to have a lack of, I think for me, one thing I've learned is commitment from the very beginning, whether it's a contract, whether it's with monetary, like a deposit or something, is how I'm going forward, because it wasted so much of our time. Yeah. I mean, we ended up having the event anyway, and we were very glad we did it. Yeah. But I think the unnecessary stress that it caused, because that affected us doing our outreach to brand partners, and then now us switching the locations to the brand partners, it doesn't look good to us. They're asking where we're delivering it. We can't. We don't know. We don't have a location to tell you.
We don't have a location. People had tickets, so we had no location. We were like, location coming soon. We're just like teasing.
Location. Do you know where it is? It's in www.google.com. London Open Spaces. Yeah. Events. Peerspace.
Peerspace. Like, it was diabolical. That week in the lead up to that first mixer was easily one of the most stressful weeks I've ever experienced.
What? Yeah. Top 10.
We've got BTS footage of us like, and not even dealing with the event, just dealing with so much
other stuff. And also, like, as human beings, you're going through life as well.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, that was actually really tough.
It was a lot.
That was really tough. But so happy we had the event, because the event was something we always wanted to do.
So much good.
We were just forced to do it so much sooner than we had anticipated. But in retrospect, I'm so glad it happened anyway.
And we still did it to the standard that we would hold anyway.
Exactly.
So. And so much good has come from that event. Like, we've been able to have creators from the event on this. We've been able to do like a kind of give back to our community by having, these like open days where our community come and see behind the scenes. So, and also like other creators have seen our content from that from that day and wanted to be on, like, it's really helped our PR. So it was really great for us to do it. Again, it's just that it was done sooner and more rushed than we would have liked.
But yeah, with that first company, they offered us the space again, and then they pulled out.
They've changed. They're not the same company.
They literally shut down.
No, what they did is they were a company, for one thing, then they rebranded and just didn't tell us.
They didn't tell us. We had to chase so much, and they were like, sorry,
I
guys.
www.googled them, and I was like, oh.
They don't exist.
That page doesn't exist. And so imagine the fright I had when I couldn't find the company online or on the App Store.
When they had said, yes, you can use our space, and yes, you can do this.
Then I Googled the spaces. They don't exist.
Yeah. That was
It's actually it's impressive.
It's actually impressive.
To do it twice.
My thing is how impressive it is to actually not communicate whatsoever.
Yeah, I think that was what really upset me.
I couldn't sleep at night.
Yeah. It really upset me because it's like, it just feels like, again, our time is being so disrespected.
Yeah.
But the event went well, and I'm so excited for the new brand partners we have for our next event, which has already happened by now. Yeah. So shout out to Qube.
Thank you
Use
so much,
the code CONC24 to, I think now the waiting list would be open by now.
Yeah.
So yeah, membership is now open for Qube, so make sure you get that in there.
Yeah. Can we talk about the live episode?
Yeah. You know what? You show me how you want to talk about it.
So, So we did a live, I mean, I was saying I documented this through that 14-day challenge. Like, we were working on it and I was complaining for half of that series about how we weren't. So I don't even need to really speak about it.
Yeah, just check out her 14-day challenge.
Yeah, but basically we did this live episode, and that was the first experience we had where we were doing our show, but we kind of had the reins taken away from us in a sense. So we couldn't do it to a standard that we were 100% happy with, or in just like a way that we were happy with. We have a way of communicating with guests, a timeline in which we like to communicate with guests, a standard to which we like the episode to be held to.
Yeah.
And it just felt so far removed from our brand.
Yeah.
Obviously the episode was great
It's
in terms
good
of
because of the structure.
quality. Yeah. Structure was great, quality was great. Guests gave some great insights.
Yeah, they were great.
Just the whole of getting to that point
it was
just
unnecessarily
really not how we like to do our business. And it just made us really aware of the fact that we need to be careful with who we decide to work with in the future, how we communicate how we like to work, being strict with our deadlines, because I think one of our flaws as a company is we, not necessarily people pleasers, but we want to make everyone else's life as easy as possible.
People don't want to do that for you.
And people don't want to do that for us, 100%.
People never want to do that.
So we need to, I learned 100% at that time, we need to just be so strict with our deadlines.
Yeah.
Like, we need this information by this date, or we are not moving forward with this podcast.
Because we did do that with another live event opportunity that came to us.
Yeah.
Where we were like, we have these set of rules, we have these set of, principles and like budget.
Yeah.
And if you can't meet us, that's fine. We'll speak to you another time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
Circle back
our
next year.
time is being wasted. Our team isn't being valued.
Yeah.
And also the creators that you want to have on.
Bro.
The creators you wanted to.
Can I say how we got asked what our role entails?
Oh, yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
We got asked, we were breaking down a budget, which by the way, wasn't even covering... We're breaking down a budget which didn't even cover production.
It's just wasn't an amount that needed to be broken down.
It didn't need to be broken down. I personally think it's diabolical to ask, can you break down this budget?
Unless I'm working with a company that has at least 3 different departments that need to approve this payment, I'm not breaking down my budget.
No. So we were asked, what does executive production entail? They wanted to remove the executive production from the budget.
Guess what disappears with that?
The show! This is our show. We made the show. This is executive production.
Trademarked.
Creators on creators. That's what's being executive produced. You can
produced.
You can have a show with 2 creators. You're not calling it creators on creators.
No.
So sorry.
Look, it's me, you, George. That's all of us.
That's all of us.
There.
Us coordinating guests,
Yes.
us getting guests, us having these segment cards, developing the show.
Yeah, Taku Talk.
That's
Taku
executive
Talk.
production.
Yeah.
You're paying again for this compounding work we've put in over these years.
Taku Talk.
And not just the 2 years of making this podcast and research and development. The decade of work before then of getting to this point of even being able to make this. So for you to come back and ask, what does executive... So you just want to pay for the cameras? Okay, cool. Pay for the cameras. What are you making? What show are you showing?
George won't even show up.
George won't show up without the executive production because we can't tell him what to do. Because you're not paying us to...
He wouldn't want to anyway.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We run this.
We run this. What did Rihanna say?
Look around. This doesn't exist without us. We created this. So, and I have live footage of us getting this email for the first time.
Insert clip here.
Hi Rebekah and Tati, thanks for coming back. Also checking, what does the executive production include? So you see this? You see what Creators on Creators is?
Just be like, I'm gonna, sorry, but you should just basically be like, I need you to write this email because I'm not in the right frame of mind to do this. Okay, 1 sec.
Executive production includes the show you are begging us to do.
So I'm not going to write that. In regards to executive production, to be honest, to ask us what that covers is incredibly rude because that's like me saying, for PR, what does that really include?
What does executive production include?
In regards to... No, I know. I know.
I can't do this because you've come to us asking for our show and you don't want to then pay for the rights to the show. You want us to do the show for free? This is essentially asking us to do the show for free. I can't quite believe my eyes. The absolute end. Because we should be charging so much more with the fact that we're doing... Becky.
Also, this is an evening event. You're not even covering our travel. Do you know what I mean?
What does executive production include?
That is Google it. www.executive production.
Yeah, I just remember just feeling worthless.
Yeah, that really upset me.
Can we say how much the budget was? For
It
production?
was under £2,000.
Bearing in mind how much content we make around this, like a reel on my page, a reel on Becky's page, a collaborative reel with creators.
You wouldn't be able to afford a reel.
Like, you can't afford it. This budget will cover stories.
This podcast is about talking about transparency. You can't afford me.
So they wanted to pay us how much?
Under £2,000.
Under £2,000.
Rent.
Under £2,000, bearing in mind we were coming with a production
team. We need to pay the team.
And we wanted to pay our creators and we couldn't even pay them.
Yeah.
Because they said, we'll get them to do them for free.
And the reason, quick asterisk to that is because when we have people on this podcast, we do not pay them.
No.
Because we don't want their things to be biased. However, it was a live episode and it was meant to be... So in our minds, it was going to be a panel discussion, not really an episode. It would just be an episode that lived on creators. Yeah. So they would be coming in technically as panelists, right? So they would be paid as panelists because they're giving us their time as panelists, and it's not just us running this live show. It was in partnership with somebody else.
Yeah.
So that's just a quick asterisk.
Yeah. So we decided, we were pushing and pushing to be able to pay these creators, because also we were under the impression we'd be in like an auditorium or something.
Yeah,
like,
again, because they would be giving a panel discussion.
Yeah.
Because that was the idea we had.
Yeah.
That was our concept.
Yeah. So we were like, we really need a budget here to be able to pay these creators. These aren't small-time creators. No. They're going to laugh in our face if we say, we'll give you £100, we'll give you £200. This isn't enough for them. We didn't even want the budget for it. We weren't
even paying ourselves.
We're not paying ourselves.
Again, we both have jobs that are self-employed. We do not get a check every month. The day I get a check every single month is the day I will rejoice. It's also a day I'll probably be in a 9 to 5.
Yeah. So we just wanted to be able to pay these creators. Yeah. And we couldn't. Yeah. Because...
and that was the second time that we wanted to pay creators to go and be on a live show, because we were asking them to come way out of the way.
Yeah, there was one... We can't really talk...
We can talk about the fact that we were being asked to be on a location very far in the UK without any payment.
So we were...
And it was meant to be a night slot. Tom's house got broken into.
Tom's house got broken into. You can find it the bird where he had to have eye surgery. But we got asked to do... Yeah. We got asked to do an event, which was 4 hours away from London.
Yeah.
And...
Plus, it's actually more than that, but yeah.
More than 4 hours away from London.
Yeah. At night.
At nighttime, no travel costs covered, no hotel costs covered.
And we couldn't pay the creators. Again, because we're not asking them to be on a podcast in the usual format where we're exchanging information to our audience. This is something else in sponsorship with somebody else, so we want to pay them.
A live show.
Yes. A live show!
A live show at might I add, a place where budgets are so unbelievably big.
Huge.
You would shock at the numbers that they work with.
Your sponsors, they're not small boys.
The names that were on that stage.
Yeah.
We had to turn it down because we would have been easily 5k out of pocket. Yeah. Which is just not something we can afford.
Yeah. If I'm asking you to spend the night, I'm going to pay you as a creator. I'm sorry. I can't.
Absolutely. Our experience building events has been turbulent, but when it's doing stuff, like, we really care about this community so much. We really care about giving back to the community, building a creative community where people just don't feel alone, and we can share information and all grow together, because that is the only way the industry is going to progress. So we feel so much fulfillment doing these events for the community. It's only now when brands come in and try to take advantage of that and don't respect the creators.
Like, do you watch the episodes?
You know,
this is...
You haven't watched it.
You haven't watched the episode to come and be like, hey, yeah, we're going to lowball you. Yeah, like, we'll see who we can get.
Do you know how much these creators get paid?
Yeah, you do now.
You actually do. Tens of thousands.
I heard six figures today. 6.
And you think you can pay them?
That means they're being paid more than 100,000 British pounds.
And you think you can offer them less than 1,000 to do something? Speaking of guests.
We've had
such a great experience with our guests. They've been excellent, sharing such excellent information, like we were saying. I think we should just maybe talk about how do we figure out our pairings.
Yeah, we've been asked that a lot recently.
A lot. And then what's the best advice that we've gotten from creators, maybe? And like our favorite like quotes and anecdotes and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Why don't you start with...
Sure.
Like how do we figure out pairings?
Alrighty, so I think we kind of have like a wish list first off of like creators we'd love to have, and then we also have creators that we know are maybe tapped into our community, and that's basically only been off the back of season 2 technically, that we've been able to have that because a lot of people have followed us from that. So that's kind of how we start, and then we try to see what niche these creators are in. Then we try to see within this niche how diverse are they from each other. So gender, race, age, following size. That's then how we kind of be like, okay, there's a bit of a difference here. If they're not in the same niche, so like one could be a lifestyle, one could be a food creator, that's great because they can both learn from each other and the audiences can both learn from them for different creators in different niches. So that's like the main way we do it. And then sometimes, which kind of goes into the next point, is about schedules, because these are creators very busy. They have management who know that they're locked in for certain periods of the month, so they can only do certain dates. So sometimes we might have like an ideal pairing that we think would go really well, like even just energy wise and personality wise. But sometimes depending on schedule, that changes. So it's usually first off the bat is niche, then it will be following sizes. If it's like diverse, that's a really good thing so they can learn from each other. And then after that is schedule.
Absolutely.
That's kind of how I think about it.
And one thing I want to say about the follow account, obviously we mentioned we want things to be as diverse as possible, and that's a really big element because we've noticed as well when it comes to what creators value, that's, I guess, kind of directly correlating with their follow accounts. So we've noticed like big creators, for example, value creative freedom over the big budget, whereas smaller creators, you have to value the big budget over the creative freedom.
Because you can't have creative freedom without it.
Right? So it's just interesting seeing that, and that's why we like to have different people with different follow accounts, because the audience as well, not everyone's going to be a huge creator, not everyone's going to be a creator, not people might be aspiring creators. They just want to hear from loads of different perspectives to see what's actually realistic to you at different stages of your journey.
Yes, very true.
So that's why we like to have, and we'd love to continue to do that in different seasons, because we've had questions before about like, why are we featuring only huge creators? And you have to understand from a strategy standpoint, if you're starting something and you want as many eyes on it, this is all very thought through. We're not doing things just for the vibes, even though it may seem like it.
Girl, we have sheets. We have spreadsheets on this.
We started with bigger creators so that we could get more eyes on the page, and because of doing that, now is when we're able to have a more diverse range of smaller smaller creators. That's not because we don't think those smaller creators aren't valuable. We are small creators ourselves.
Teeny tiny.
We know how valuable micro creators are.
Yes.
But the same with macro creators. Everyone offers their own value.
Even within the macro creators,
Absolutely.
You can see other creators who are huge, learning from other creators at the same size, being like, whoa, I'm not doing X, Y, and Z. If they're not doing it, I can guarantee you the micro creators also aren't doing it. Because I'm seeing things, I'm a micro creator, I'm like, I need to be doing this.
And even the other way around, some macro creators learn from the micro creators. Because we really want to hammer home the fact that your value shouldn't be in your follower account.
No.
You shouldn't respect people or look up to people based on their follower account, because you can learn something from everyone.
But bigger creators are going to have a completely different experience to you. It's about like the door. For example, some creators, you can never enter doors of some companies. This creator can. So the fact that you're getting information from them, that's the value now of getting this big creator. Do you know what I mean? Because they'll tell you a story, you're like, what?
Yeah, and just allowing you to dream bigger.
Exactly.
When we're sat here and we hear like, oh, so-and-so made 6 figures off of this, we're like, okay, like it gives
there is
you
money
it gives you
that I can
like,
make.
Yeah, it gives you that permission to dream, to be able to get that. Obviously, you might not be that might not be your main focus, making money.
Crazy.
But if it is something you want to do full time, hate to break it to you, you do have to think about the money. Even if it's not your main priority, you need to survive. The end. So it's important to hear a diverse range of perspectives. I think we live in this culture of echo chambers, and you need to surround yourself with people who think exactly like you. That's not the case. You can converse with people who have completely contrasting views, have a healthy debate even. And that's completely fine. We don't need to be childish in our ways of interacting with people. And just be respectful to everyone. And I think that's I don't know, maybe social media has kind of ruined that because we're taught to like hate people who think differently to us.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm so sorry. Everyone needs to understand this grey area for everything.
Grey area for everything. Yeah. Just respect everyone.
Yeah. But back to why we have the creators.
Yeah, I don't know. We just got so political all of a sudden.
You know, this isn't just a podcast, guys. This is a platform.
It's a community.
This is a forum.
It's a movement. The duality.
The duality of this podcast. But yeah, now we could talk maybe about our favorite creator like quotes. We don't have any favorite creators, but we have some great quotes.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote one down because this was
I fear he
one.
ate. Yeah, he ate.
So Keith, when he was on, Keith and Paolo, he was speaking about the fact that Samuel L. Jackson didn't start acting until he was like 37 years old.
It's like Samuel Jackson started acting at 40 years old. Do you get what I mean? Like at one point he was like, I just got to start. We would not have Samuel L. Jackson if he didn't have that conversation with himself. Do you get what
exactly?
I mean? Yeah. And it's just like we have to take that into ourselves. That's a random example. Sorry, I think I watched the masterclass video. That
really resonated with us because,
yeah,
I mean, we live in this time where we feel like we need to have everything done by the time we're 30 years old.
Yeah.
And the fact we can't start anything new because you have to be great at something when you're young. Mm-hmm. But if Samuel L. Jackson, one of the greatest actors of all time, didn't start acting until he was 37 years old, you can live another life later down the line. If you've got another dream, Oprah starts at 33. If you've got another dream, you can go chase that later on.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to limit yourself like, oh, I haven't started and I'm 35 years old.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Start now. Yeah. You can still be excellent. You
don't
have to be excellent to start something.
That's true.
You don't need to do everything to the highest level.
Yeah.
Sometimes just enjoy life. Do things for fun.
Hey,
have fun.
Run in the city, you know? Do things for fun.
Yeah. Run in the city, did you say?
Yeah. I didn't know if you caught on to that.
I caught it, yeah.
Thank you. I actually can't think of my favourite quote. Ooh, I'm trying to think.
I have another one.
Wait, what?
Jalen going.
Oh my God, can I say, I don't know if it was meant to be funny or not, but it was one of the funniest quotes ever. And also one of the rudest quotes as well.
Yeah, because...
Roll the clip.
I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah, like you know me, and you probably do know me, but I don't know you.
Facts.
Because I can't. So it's a one-way relationship where you may see me like what feels like on FaceTime. I'm talking about my feelings, my struggles, my life. You're seeing it all and you're consuming it. So you have an opinion, you have thoughts about me, you think we're like real life friends.
Where you know me.
Yeah, like you know me, and you probably do know me, but I don't know you.
Facts.
Because I can't.
Also, sorry, I'm just going to pause here. We didn't talk about the story about getting Jalen on the podcast. And I know, obviously, we just talked about, like, having different creator sizes. But I think another thing that one of, like, our pitfalls are as executive producers is not celebrating some of these moments. Now, Jaden isn't, like, the creator, the best creator in the world, like, you know, that he's the only one that we wanted to get on the podcast. The point is that he's a really big creator and he's, like, one of the bigger creators in the US, like, and he has a huge worldwide audience. So for him to consider coming on our podcast was a big deal for us.
He was just with Obama.
The guy interviewed Obama?
Barack.
We are 1 degree from Barack. Do you understand this, guys? So anyway, getting him on the podcast was a really big deal for us because we did a bunch of outreach to a bunch of US creators and we're like, let's just throw the net out. It's obviously, we didn't expect a lot of people to get back to us because, again, these people are very busy. Like American creators, I feel like are a bit different to UK creators because they have bigger teams, they have bigger commitments sometimes in terms of like their, not rollout in terms of like commitments, but I feel like they have a lot more other things they have to do. Their day-to-day seems a lot busier than what we do here. So we didn't think he would get back to us. That guy got back to us on DM because we DM'd him and we emailed him because we usually do that with guests just to make sure we've covered all our bases. So when he got back to us and was like, this sounds great.
Within 30 minutes.
Within 30 minutes, this sounds great. Thanks for the validation, bro.
Thank you.
Like, again, this is a big creator to see the value in what we're doing and to even see, oh, this is great because I know that I can plug into this and help other people is insane. Yeah. Now, back to the episode. One of the things he said in it, again, it was art. Because it was both...
Picasso could never.
It was both, like, humorous, but then also incredibly factual. And it's, like, that thing where it's, like, unfortunately, this is reality, you know? So he was, like, talking about parasocial relationships. He said, you may know me, but I don't know you.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is the realest thing I've ever heard. They're only choosing to show you, like, 0.05% of their life. Like, you don't know what they're doing day to day. They could have
not real.
pre-recorded it. They might not be in the country. Like, you think you know this person, but you don't. So, one, it was such a bar, low key. And it was also, like, funny as well because it was like, yeah, you don't.
Yeah.
He didn't lie.
No, and again, it's that critical thinking.
Yeah.
We forget, and I'm not blaming anyone, like, this is what, we're not conditioned to critical think nowadays, you know?
Nowadays.
Right? So we have to consistently remind ourselves to just think a tiny bit more.
Area.
So it's like someone posted this and you're immediately jumping to a conclusion about what this means. Bro, the internet is so not real. Like, for example, me, nothing I post is in real time.
Yeah. I don't think you've ever, you only post real time when it's a shoot day.
Whenever I'm in a place, if I'm posting it, I promise you that was a day ago.
Yeah.
At best.
Yeah.
2 days ago even. 3 days ago.
Yeah.
It's never on the
I
day.
might be having a mental breakdown. You'll never know.
You'll never know. I'll be in bed bawling my eyes out like,
Girl.
oh, this was such a fun day.
The amount of times I've done story recap.
Story girl.
I've been in the pits. What a great day. Because social media is not real.
Not real. So for people to take everything they see on social media as face value is so funny to me.
Yeah. Especially now when you also meet the creators. For example, Jalen. Like, absolutely lovely guy.
So
it was so
lovely.
funny, the conversation we were having with him off screen
Yeah.
was like, again, if you applied that critical thinking, it would have been like, oh, because the person that you're, you know, having opinions about, completely different person.
Yeah.
Like,
For the better.
for the better.
Yeah.
It was actually wild.
You don't know anyone on social
No,
media.
that's
as
very
authentic
true.
as you can be, you never know someone until you experience their energy.
Yeah.
And he was just incredible to work with. Like, he was so professional and so kind and funny, and it was just like really great to be surrounded by people. Like, all of the guests were. It was really great to be surrounded by people who were just so in.
Who didn't, again, have to give us their time. Like,
Didn't have to give us
these
their
are
time.
not I'm not saying like small boys and like talk about smaller craze, but I'm like, these are like household names almost when it comes to social media. So
It was just really encouraging.
Yeah.
Really encouraging.
goals for the future, I guess.
Guys, sky is the limit.
Yeah.
Well, the limit does not exist, actually.
Wait, what's the thing? It's like, and that's the Oppenheimer. He's like, and that's
Oh, yeah. When it's like, how can both make sense? Or
And they
something.
don't.
It's the, and how can it can't? It can't.
it can't.
It's paradoxical. Yeah, it's something. I love that clip.
Every time I see it, I think
It can't. It can't.
It can't.
I do love Cillian Murphy. He really bodied that
can't.
role.
Oh, I really enjoyed that.
It's stunner. It's paradoxical.
Really good. Really enjoy that quote. But yeah, the sky's the limit. We want to go bigger. We want to have so many different countries. Because I think the creator economy in different countries is vastly is vastly different. Like, the UK versus the US, massively different.
difference.
The US is at least 2 years ahead when it comes to the creator economy than the UK.
It makes me actually chuckle when people think the UK is on the same
It's
level
really
as the
behind.
US.
And then also one of the things we learned from a creator is that Australia as well is behind. And I used to think that Australia, it went US, Australia, the UK.
Yeah.
That's how I thought it went with the creator economy, but it's not.
That's why it's that's why it's important we go to these countries.
Yeah.
My thing is we just need to figure out accessibility wise
Language. I want different languages.
I want different languages. We just need to figure out. We need to have someone who is bilingual assist
AI.
us. No, like on set and stuff. Do you get me? For like
What if we're not there?
no, but for example, if we went to Spain, we wanted them to speak Spanish.
Spanish, yeah.
We can't speak Spanish, so we don't know what they're saying in the moment. We need
Yeah.
someone who understands the concept behind the scenes.
Oh,
on
okay.
set
Sorry, yeah, on set on the
to
day.
be like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get you.
Like,
you.
even
We'd
when
need
it's
to
a
have
game
we'd
or-
have to have a third. It would be executive producer, then another producer.
Yeah.
On set with us that is bilingual. Yeah.
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 Which adds another barrier to production because that's an extra cost. So it's definitely something we want to do in the future, make it more diverse in terms of languages and cultures and stuff.
Yeah.
But
Also,
baby steps because of money.
yeah. And then the next thing I want to do is more community, building our community again worldwide.
Worldwide,
Yeah.
I really want to do more community events. Like it's so much fun, and it's great for us because we get to meet the community in real life and actually just as we were saying, you don't feel like you know people until you meet them, and it's such a great way for people to meet each other. we just love it. It's so great seeing people hang out outside of our events.
Yeah, that's been really cute to see.
Yeah.
And also, we want to build out our creator community a lot more as well.
Yeah.
Like, we're calling it, oh my God, is this like tea? Do people know this? But anyway, we're calling it the C alumni.
Yeah.
Yeah, the creator and alumni, where we just kind of keep growing this group of creators that we've had on the podcast more and more. To the point it's like, oh, I'm part of the C alumni.
Yeah, like it's
C alumni.
Yeah, like it's like a club that people want to be a part of.
Yeah,
almost.
yeah, because we've had some great people.
Yeah. But yeah, who inspires you? Who inspires us?
Who inspires us? Gosh. So, okay, if I'm talking about creators and just like content creation, there's a few. So I would say content skill and like visuals. I would say you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Are we talking about actual creators?
What are you
Oh,
saying?
thank you.
What were you gonna say?
I thought we were talking about other podcasts and like
creative
brands and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I was gonna say like visuals and then like business and then like I don't know, rollout maybe. So as like a visual creator, like yourselves, like Paolo, Keith, like visually, I feel like you guys do a really good job of that. Now, if it's to be like on a business level of like the way we kind of put loads of different things together, where it's like showing the behind the scenes, showing the business, showing like the content at the end of the day. Content creator that does this really well is Daniel Dalen, who shows the process really well. And then also Stephen Bartlett is great. One, to show the process and also to to give value back. Like I love his Making the Diary of a CEO. Behind the Diary series. That's insane to watch. And I really am enjoying watching businesses being built, no matter what they are. There's also the content creator you're telling me about on YouTube.
Yeah, I can't remember his name, but we can leave
the owner of Nude Project, basically.
Yeah.
Again, loads of people just showing behind the scenes. That's been really inspirational to me because it's like you can see the work they're doing, you can see their drive, and like how we'll talk about how the way we work isn't the same as everyone else. It's nice to see other people that want to work to that standard. So you're like, okay, if they can achieve this level of success, then so can I. And there's nothing wrong with me thinking that. And the days maybe when you're like, oh, like, what's the point? Like, I can't be able to keep going. Yeah. Then you're like, and this is the end goal. Yeah,
and it further solidifies that notion of like, not everyone is going to be on that same level of drive and dedication.
Yeah.
Because that is very hard to find. But it makes you feel like it just validates that fact. You're like, the people are there. Yeah. They're not many of them, but they
not.
Exist.
There's not many of them.
And that's normal. Yeah. That's normal because not everyone has those desires in the first place. Not everyone wants that for their life, which is completely
true. How about you?
Stephen Bartlett is up there because of I mean, I grew up watching Dragon's Den and now he's a dragon as well.
I loved Dragon's Den watching growing up. I loved watching Dragon's Den growing up.
Yeah, and people can say what they want to say about him, but it's that inspiration of just like working so ridiculously hard and throwing everything.
Might not always be healthy, but
yeah, not healthy. Like we know that a lot of what we do is toxically productive.
Yeah, because you're upset. Like it's obsession.
Obsessed. Yeah. But
obsession is not healthy.
It's not healthy, but it's what we have to do to get to some places sometimes. And you sacrifice a lot for that.
God.
And at some point you have to choose. Now I'm done with this level of obsession. Let me have some more balance. But
obsession is literally low key. I fear.
It is.
I fear that's common sense.
You need the obsession, unfortunately. But I'm really inspired by a lot of other creative communities.
That
are building. That are just building out the community aspect because this year I feel like for me has been a very big community year of just like leaning on that community. I mean, I say this to you all the time. I'm like, I don't know what I would do if we didn't exist in this universe together. Yeah. Because I'm like, how would I survive?
Same here, babe.
Do you know what I mean?
Ditto, retweet.
The people running those things inspire me so much.
Yeah.
Because to do something like that, you have to operate from such a place of abundance of like you care so much about other people outside of just your own personal gain. Yeah. To do something like that, you're losing for a long time in terms of your money, your time. Yeah. You're really just choosing to value
other people,
the work, and other people and the mission. And I feel like that's the most important thing. And I think that's where we also sit, which is really nice to see because obviously this is a business and we have many pillars, but I love the fact that the community
has evolved so much as well.
Has evolved and we value it, we prioritize it because that's what people remember and that's what's going to live on way longer than we do. So
bars.
All the creators that you shouted out as well, heavily agree. Like
you're one of them.
Oh, thank you. You're one of them as well.
No, you stop it. Get out. Get out of here.
No, like I really do agree. But Stephen Bartlett has always been
He is the
He's the pioneer of the podcast.
Also, can we talk about his process? The man has a button underneath his table to go, oh, that's a good moment.
Yeah.
Do you know what I would give to have that?
Yeah.
Because the amount of times people say something like, yeah, then I have to check the clock. I'm like, wait, what time was that?
Yeah.
He has a team that's already doing that.
He's got a head of trailers. They A/B test they change their thumbnails all the time. Like, you can't say this man does not work hard or work smart.
Right?
Smart.
I like the way he does systems. Like, I feel like watching the way he does his systems, definitely, I think that low-key influenced our system, like, of production days, where we're like, 100%. Come in, greet, like, he just kind of,
I just respect his work.
Yeah, massively.
You know?
Yeah.
But anyway, we've yapped and yapped and yapped.
Yap. One thing we're going to do is yap.
Yap.
Professional yappers.
I think this was really great, and I know we'll do more of these in the future. It's not going to be a regular thing.
No.
Once, I don't know when more has happened.
Yeah.
But I hope everyone enjoyed this episode.
Yeah, I hope so.
Creators.
No one listens.
Hopefully someone's listening.
Please tune in. But yeah, I've had a great time. It's great to chat with you. It's great to kind of just end the season on a high.
Yeah, and really amazing things coming for the next season you're about to see.
Yes.
More with Qube, more with other people, and it's just, we're super excited for the future of Creators on Creators. So thank you all for being part of the community.
Thank you so much for supporting us, for tuning in every week, for, wanting to learn more from the amazing creators we've had on here. Yeah. And also shout out to the creators that we've had on this podcast. Absolutely. You have made this podcast, I fear.
Absolutely. It's all because of you guys.
Literally.
Like, the creators and the community, without you guys, this would be nothing. So.
Shout out to God.
Shout out,
when I tell you, we would not be here without the grace of God.
That net, leap and it shall appear.
Amen. No.
We've been leaping and leaping and
leaping.
The net arrives, even though we've got no.
He said, "I'll calm the storm. Walk on water.
Walk it."
Hey. No, honestly, I have to. It's true, because I think this whole experience, like, the people that have randomly emailed us, the people that have gotten back to us, that's not our doing.
No, it can't be.
There's no way. We can work as much as we want, but at the end of the day, God has a plan in our lives, and I just thank him so much for the opportunities he's brought our way, and the fact I get to work with you every day. Oh,
honestly, me too, girl. Like, there's only so much we can do as human beings, so much, and this, exactly as you said, we do not have the capacity to do everything we have done. So that's how I know it's not 100% our
Footprints in the sand, just one pair.
Just one pair!
Why? Because he carried us! He carried us.
Oh my gosh, I love that story so much.
Love it. What? God, why did you...
It
was me carrying you through. What do you mean? Poetry. Gosh,
that was in my bathroom. I think it was in
everyone's
bathroom.
It's because I carried you. Don't fear.
Why did you leave me?
I never forsake you. I was carrying you. The footprints in the sand.
But anyway, if you aren't already, please make sure you subscribe. Yes. Leave us a rating on all podcast platforms. Leave a like, comment, turn notifications on.
Subscribe.
Yeah, we'll catch you next time.
Yeah, and
next season.
Next season. But yeah, thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Wow.